866-762-9238. That's 866-762-9238. You can also go to their website at www.enerfood.com. That's ENERF like Frank, OOD like dog.com. Enerfood.com. A big thank you to all of our listeners already taking the products that Ener Health offers. We truly appreciate it. We thank you for your support and encourage you to listen often to stay informed during these crucial times.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Hawk. It's 4/25/2013, live show Thursday night. Chapter 17, Isaiah, the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. The cities of Aroer are forsaken. They shall be for flocks which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria. They shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Lord of hosts. And in that day it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. And it shall be as when the harvestman gathereth the corn, and reapeth the ears with his arm. And it shall be as he that gathereth ears in the valley of Rephaim, and yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it, as the shaking of an olive tree. 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uppermost bough, 4 or 5 in the outmost fruitful branches thereof, saith the Lord God of Israel. And at that day shall a man look to his Maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel. And he shall not look to the altars, the works of his hands, neither shall respect that which his fingers have made, either the groves or the images. And in that day shall his strong cities be a forsaken bough, and an uppermost branch, which they left because of the children of Israel, and there shall be desolation, because thou hast forgotten the God of thy salvation, and hast not been mindful of the rock of thy strength. Therefore shalt thou plant pleasant plants, and shalt set it with strange slips. And in the day shalt thou make thy plant to grow, and in the morning shalt thou make thy seed to flourish. But the harvest shall be a heap in the day of grief and of desperate sorrow. Woe to the multitude of many people, which make a noise like the noise of the seas, and to the rushing of nations that make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but God shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like the rolling thing before the whirlwind. And behold, at eventide trouble, and before the morning he is not. This is the portion of them that spoil us, and the lot of them that rob us. Well, you see, ladies and gentlemen, it must be time for the Luciferian timetable to bring Syria back onto the board, because, you see, we were discussing these chemical weapons usages back last year, if you recall. But, you see, it's on this big old Lucy timetable. And so now they've got all the things starting to get ready in the United States with the after effect of the martial law and the Boston Marathon situation. And then now that's spreading to every kind of place that you wanted to ever think about. And then in the midst of that, you've got gray terror. Gray terror means you don't know who's doing it. And even if it is terror, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And today we had the barges blow up, the gasoline barges blow up down in Mobile Bay. And incidentally, old Mobile Bay is exactly where they were bringing in Russian Hind helicopters and other kind of things, and Russian troops back in the 80s. They were coming up into Mobile Bay. And then that's when Russian armor and stuff was taken, and they were put over in Mississippi on the back lot of the training base of the National Guard there. But now we got Russian Spetsnaz and Russian paratroops by the thousands in the United States. You got a president who allegedly, when he was 16, was recruited by the KGB and made a KGB agent, a double agent, because when he got CIA, KGB, and probably Indonesian and maybe Chinese too. Who knows? But the fact is, you remember, he told Medvedev to tell Vlad after my re-election, I'll have a lot more flexibility to deal with the nuclear weapons, etc. Well, what did they do? They took down the nuclear weapons around Russia deal. Now they're basically gave the same thing away to the Red Chinese after the North Koreans saber rattle. And the fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, is that this, like we were saying a long time ago, the doors, the back door, the front door, the side doors are all open. But now it's worse than that, in that they've invited in and are paying. The U.S. government, I allege, is paying, from what we've heard, that they hired, DHS hired the Russian troops and other foreign mercenary troops, the crap, perhaps, who knows, the EIEIO mercenary companies, Old Blackwater, whatever the name of it is, possibly. Don't know for sure, but you can bet your bottom dollar that somebody's bottom dollars are getting kicked in somewhere. So, fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, I had a report today out of Fort Collins, Colorado. Older Russian officer, plainclothes with younger Russian military accents, and then driving white, looks like white FEMA or DHS vehicles. We've had all kind of stuff going on, this West Texas thing, and now the Joker Tut has gone down there to console the people and then use it, and use all that as a publicity tour, you see, after he gave his immigration speech. And he even worked it into the consoling of the West Texas people, which from our understanding of that, Steve received some information from somebody down here in that area, and he says that here's what they said about that. Let me just talk to you about this. In West, there was somebody there who had been working for FEMA. And basically, they talked about some interesting things down in there. But that apparently when FEMA came in, it was discovered, people were donating food, water, money to the families and to people who lost their homes and to people who were first responders who had gone in and have lost their lives. And then it seems as though that the accounting for all the donations got taken over by FEMA. And that for every donation that was assigned a monetary value of water, bottle, can of food, underwear, building materials, anything was assigned a dollar value. In addition, each relief worker and equipment used in the cleaning up efforts are assigned dollar values. This is the shocking part. The estimated dollar value will be deducted from the total dollar amount that FEMA provides. The FEMA Homeland Stormtroopers also went from house to house, apparently, to check on people and animals. But the property and everything within the area belongs to FEMA. And any and all valuables can be confiscated by FEMA. That's what this email alleges. The FEMA's second priority is to confiscate guns. And FEMA agents were supposedly are logging in confiscated weapons and munitions, but they were heard to laugh as they stated most of the confiscated weapons will never be returned because the owners will not be able to substantiate first-party ownership. In other words, any record that they might have had when they purchased it or anything like that, or, like a record of a serial number or something, they won't have it, so they won't say, well, how do we know this one is yours? So it's another thing there. Do you know the make and model or your serial number? Well, I'm sorry, but you're out of luck. So then there you go, ladies and gentlemen. This is another situation, and it just goes to the fact that, quite frankly, my best information and best guess on this one is that Russian Spetsnaz blue, because it's the type of thing that special forces type folk do. When you want to go in and you want to cause havoc and you want to raise you know what in a country and cause destabilization and chaos, and particularly in a climate when budgets and all these things and sequestration and Lucy's are in the White House and in this house and that house and the other house, and in the Congress and in the top of the military and the top of the EIEIO and the CIA and the NSA and the what have you A's and the F's and this and that and the FBI's, in the midst of all this climate where you have it's just so it's so crazy. In a sense, it's overwhelming because it's all coming so fast, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Because I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, now it looks like it's time now for Syria. And what I suspect will be done is that I suspect that chemical weapons have been given over to Hezbollah, and I suspect they'll be used against Israel or be threatened to use because Israel shot a Hezbollah drone down, okay, in the Lebanon, and then, of course, the Syria and the Lebanon are right there, and the Golan Heights is on the border. So the fact is that this is probably getting ready to go, but however, when that happens, we have that one portion there, which is, the nation shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but God shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before the whirlwind. Well, the fact of the matter is that could be a nuclear weapon that goes off in Syria. But the fact is that we're on time now because of the other chaos and terror. You remember, it's ordo ab chaos. Out of the chaos comes, you see, order. You see. So the fact is they want to start to kill him. Lucifer seems to be having his run now. This is the time that is allotted for him to do his thing, perhaps. And believe me, it is sure on the move. Because with this Mobile thing, with the thing with the Southern California, you know, we're crisscrossing back and forth across the United States. And here's the scenario you got. You got all these things. Are you going to see next? You remember what I told you a week ago? I said, look for stuff to happen possibly at the good old Tennessee Valley, Authority. I said, look for stuff possibly like Hoover Dam or Tennessee Valley Dam or those kind of stuff. What did we have? What did we have? And believe me, I just knew that that's one of the targets. I also mentioned the nuclear power plant outside of Phoenix, out in the desert there, that controls, and provides power to much of the west coast of the United States. And that how it's been a target many, many times. And then I will tell you what, there's a lot of nuclear emergency search people up. There's all kind of stuff. We have assets in space. The mighty men and women of valor are in the TR-3Bs. They're in the TR-4s, and they're using their special sensing equipment that is much more powerful than anything the regular military or your cousin's third parties, brothers, sisters, hairdresser, uncle-in-law will tell you exists. But the fact is that they are tracking stuff, and that's all there is to it. But now there was a penetration or attempted penetration of the TVA, which is where, if you go in there and look at that, you got very near there, you got the nuclear plant, the nuclear reactor, and you got Alcoa and all that stuff down in that area, not far from Knoxville. And God bless all the good people in the good Tennessee men and women down there. I know a lot of you, and you're good people, believe me. And you know what the right side of the Lord is. You know what the right side of a shooting iron is, too. And how to put fire down range to those who would be the enemies of the Lord of the Constitution. Let alone some stinking Russian, special forces, Spetsnaz, or paratrooper boys. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, you're going to get ready because this thing is going all the way. I sense in the powers that be within the United States government at the top slots that the full court press is being put on. Yet at the same time, we have this Al Harvey guy who's got 11 relatives. 11 relatives that are either Al-Qaeda terrorists and active fighters in Al-Qaeda, some of which may be in, Saudi Arabia, some that might be in Syria right now as the Syrian freedom fighters, and then some that are being down in Gitmo, that are in the possession of the United States military in Gitmo. So the fact is, why is this Saudi guy cleared? And then why, allegedly, is Michelle Obama, well, she didn't allegedly, she went to visit this guy. And that's after he had visits from the Saudi ambassador and that type of thing, or the consular officer or whoever, and then also allegedly who had met with Secretary of State Kerry, and then allegedly the Joker Tut Lizard himself went to see him. But then the fact of the matter is that this could very well be, this Al Harvey guy is known to be involved with the family members who are involved with the Al-Qaeda. But the fact is, from what people are saying and on the backside, and then some things, investigation on the web, that this might in fact be, Hamza bin Laden, the heir, crown prince apparent of Al-Qaeda, son of Osama or Usama. Now, wouldn't it be interesting to note that since Osama or Tim Osman, who used to work for the CIA and who was taken and bought with his money of the billionaire family of construction in Saudi Arabia, took and bought those missiles, man-pads, shoulder-fired missiles to help take down, the Russian helos. And so now in the juxtaposition of this whole thing, we now have these Dagestan, or Russian province of Dagestan, Chechens, who are involved in the bombing, whose uncle, Ruslan, allegedly, according to what I've seen in accounts in the newspapers, he works for AID, American International Development, which is a front group, always has been for the spooks. The CIA. Everybody remembers the AID boys in the Vietnam, when they first were, their first tour stuff early on. Because I'll tell you, they're everywhere. And then the fact is, that's where the budget comes from for a lot of the black operations. Always has. Now, if this Ruslan works for that and for somebody else also that may have ties to oil patch world with old Halliburton. Well, the fact is, these guys are, in a situation where their family is all ginned up and in the pink with all the right folks in the intelligence community. And apparently they could have been run. Sybil Edmonds, I do believe Sybil Edmonds, what she has to say, because she's an Arabic speaker, and she's the one that burned because of her testimony when they tried to persecute her. She was on 60 Minutes and all that stuff. They tried to, silence her, but she was able to basically put the word out. And that's when Danny, what was his name, the assistant, the minority leader, the guy from Illinois, Hester, whatever his name was, he resigned. 4 or 5 Congress people resigned, and that they were saying that they were all part of the deal in 9/11, and that they were receiving money from Turkish or whatever drug dealers, etc., for their campaigns. Do you remember all of that? Well, she knows where the bodies are buried, and she knows there was high-level complicity in the counterterrorism division, and that they were penetrated there in the FBI itself by high-level people in that movement who were Muslims or orientated to Muslims. And now you got the CIA boy, old Brennan, who says that, we've got to stop talking about jihadis, who are wonderfully, fighters for their religion, their cause. This is a radical Islam terrorism, not jihadis. Jihad is wonderful. That's his quote. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is all just part of the situation. And then now this kid, and you see how they're doing this. It reminds me so much of the Kennedy assassination. Now they're filling the airways with all kind of fluff to get you going down all kind of rabbit trails and this and that and the other, Misha and this and that. And then now they keep paying the mother to come on, because believe me, these people are not going to go on and do a free interview. I guarantee you they have to encourage them to do it. And now the mother don't want to come back and this and that, and sure kids didn't do it. And then the one thing she did say, her and the aunt, that verifies and matches up with my own viewing of the video footage. The naked guy, if you freeze frame the stuff and you compare it to other pictures you could print out of this Tamerlane, Tsarnaeva, you can check him out. And that guy that the cops pick up, I basically can tell you based on my look at it, that was him. So then what did they do? They got him naked. Remember when the cops were backing off, and I said last week that he had his foot crossed over. He was in compliance with the standard operating procedure. Get on the ground and, stick your arms up in the air and spread your fingers and then hook your, one foot over the ankle, the other one, and all that stuff prone. So that's right prior to when they start to cuff him. And then they said, back on up, back on up, back on up. Remember? Said he had a vest on. Well, they probably got him and arrested him naked. And then I heard 2 or 3 different conflicting stories today. Somebody on TV in the national press said, well, yes, that's when their SUV that they carjacked, the SUV they carjacked ran out of gas. Well, isn't that the same one that then the younger brother now supposedly jumped in and ran over his brother? If it was out of gas, then you could not start it and go on with it. So this whole thing is a lie. The FBI is deep in the middle of it. And then I will tell you, they were trying to question this guy. Maybe a good interrogator was. But then justice came in, and since they weren't able to completely shut the kid up with the bullet through the throat, which I still believe is a sniper bullet, and I just love to see all of the forensics and all of this stuff, but I still don't think this thing goes to court. I still don't think it goes to court. I think he's going to either be Oswalded or something. In other words, old Jack Ruby's probably waiting in the wings, ready to get this kid. And then this Sunhill Tremathi, or whatever this guy's name is, the one they first thought was the guy, now he turns up, they find him dead in a river. Well, then the question is, was this a double kind of a situation? Had that guy been involved and selected for something? And then what about all of the guys still in the tan BDUs, the black shirts, the Punisher hats, the crap-looking folk? And what were they there doing, and who paid their ticket? And then why was it denied that they were there? Why did they deny there's a drill? And all of this stuff keeps going down the memory hole. You got to keep it resurrected up, Well, ladies and gentlemen, they're going for it in this country. The powers that be, the Illuminati, Luciferian, bankers, their crowd, the black magic people, and their puppets in the White House, their puppets in the Congress, their puppets in the military, their puppets all over the block. They're getting ready to go for it. They got the Russians. They got other people in here. They've got the mercenaries in here. And now they're saying that one of these bombs was taken out or set off by a cell phone. Do you see the guys with the cell phones that had the black hat and the tan thing, and then where their backpack of the one guy that didn't have the hat on that kind of looks like he's a swarthy type with the black hair? Where is his backpack? And you remember the black backpacks that in the first minutes of after the thing, they said that they could not go in and look at the forensics because they had to do all the work and collect these black backpacks. You remember that? And how they exploded other devices. And what about the one at the library? So you see, ladies and gentlemen, it was a cooked deal. It's an operation. And then we got more of them going on. We got the Southern California substation where somebody lit up the transformers and dropped oil down and shut the power off. We had the bomb scare at Cal State. We got all these other bomb scares that are happening all over the United States. I guarantee you, they're all related to this crap. And what's going on? You're seeing now the Mobile Bay, the explosion. And then Walt Butcher said, authorities say that there must have been vapors and a spark set them off. Well, no, you know stuff, Sherlock. You know what I mean? Ha! No kidding. But see, who sets the fire that then blows the fertilizer plant? Who sets the fire or provides the spark? Or strikes the little flint, they struck the flint and then it ignited. It's, in my estimation, Spetsnaz, it's great terror. Now we have a thing that has come out on, I believe it was Foreign News or something, talking about multiple bombs diffused in the cities in Montana. Now that type of thing is exactly what I think will also happen. I mentioned to you last week about the Tinley Park nukes that Steve Quayle had information about some mighty men and women about or went in. And that there were 5 of them in Tinley Park area of Chicago. This is about 203, 204, 2003 or 4, somewhere in there. And that how they made a raid. And those raids were on Al-Qaeda or jihadi types. High-level terrorists. And they went in there to get those. And they were able to get 1 or 2, as I recall. That left about 3 out of the pocket. The 3 missing buckets of sun. You can remember when I first was on the air, I was telling you about all of that. Steve was telling you about that. 2004, and I talked about 2005. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are nuclear devices that are extant and they're loose in the world. You remember the ones that were involved down in the, they were going to use them down at the Houston Ship Channel, and the old BP, Texas City, and all that down there. Well, isn't that interesting that on the anniversary of the Texas City blow-up, you get the Boston Marathon kind of a thing? It is an orchestrated series of events. Now, what I also wanted to talk to you about is what, Ed Dames had to say the other night, the remote viewer guy. And Dames basically still says that North Korea, or things relating to North Korea, still says that the nuclear device used in anger will be done on that peninsula or will be involving that peninsula. He clarified this the other night. Now, do you remember when over a month or so ago or whatever, I was talking to you about the North Koreans and how they had the submarines, they could fix a warhead to their smaller missiles in the subs? And that certainly they also made missiles and things, and I gave you some information about that. They were the ones helping Pakistan and also Iran to do some stuff. And how it doesn't make any difference because the Russians or the Red Chinese can give them missiles that can reach wherever they want them to reach. Or they can assist them in manufacture. But the fact is, Dave said the other night that the Russians had built nuclear devices and that will be transported by their submarines to U.S. territories. That probably includes Pearl Harbor and off Long Beach and along the West Coast. That if they are attacked, they will use those, he said, to blow those port cities. I'll be coming right back because the economics is also big on the mind of what's going on.
With natural and man-made disasters and economic turmoil, if we don't get well prepared, we will most certainly regret it. Good readiness must include storage of high-quality food that will build us up rather than tear us down. Much of the storable food available is full of bad fats, salt, sugar, nutrient-poor refined foods, and even MSG. In response, EnerHealth Botanicals has created our 40-day and 40-night 100% organic preparedness pail. It's GMO-free and has a 10 to 20-year shelf life if stored at 60 degrees or less. Some of the items need cooking, some can be eaten dry, while some can be soaked and sprouted. These are selling out fast at a third the price of storable food packages. Call us at 866-762-9238. That's 866-762-9238. Or go to enerfood.com, ENERFOOD.com. 866-762-9238. Or go to ENERFOOD.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Hawk. It is Thursday night, 4/25, Year of the Snake, according to the Red Chinese, 2013. Well, believe me, the serpent is afoot. And I was talking about what Ed Dames was talking about at Coast to Coast the other night. And he says they have nuclear devices, and Ed Dames said he was going to tell the Pentagon and whatever because he doesn't think they know about it. Well, I talked to you about this stuff quite some time ago. I will also tell you that off the coast of China and also off the coast of North Korea that there are underwater stuff that could pop up, particularly off of China. They got nukes right there. It could take out any of our things coming in. They got anti-ship missiles with nuclear warheads on them. But you see, they didn't have to do that. They used the John Kerry. They used him like a Neville Chamberlain. And basically, we removed the missile shield and backed all of our carriers and stuff away from China to make it when the whole balloon goes up, probably with Syria or something like that, or maybe North Korea, they can go in and take Taiwan. But it looks like the Chinese perhaps have, or somebody has released the new H7N9 into Taiwan. Now it's jumped across the straits from China into Taiwan. Now, here's what Dames also had to say. Besides those nuclear weapons will be off Long Beach and other places. And why off Long Beach? Well, the Chinese have access and have the port at Long Beach. So it'd be real easy for the North Korean subs to come in because the Chinese ships could give them cover, etc., coming in. Or maybe they just put it on one of the red Chinese, container ships and help them that way, out at sea. Bring it in on the line that stretches all the way back there. Well, here's the deal. He also said that the number one thing, however, that's going to be happening is a global economic collapse. Global economic collapse coinciding with a global pandemic. And he says H7N9 might fulfill the bill. He says it's deadly enough if it mutates or something again that it could quite frankly be what he has seen in the future in his remote viewing and the teams that he has of how at the same time there seems to be the global economic collapse. And he's talking about this year, ladies and gentlemen. He's not talking about 10 years in the future. He's talking about this year. And then also at the same time how there develops a global pandemic. And he said that also by the fall or the winter of 2013, early 2014, there is going to be a large comet that was discovered by the Ison Group, a large comet that he calls will be a sun grazer that will graze the sun and that will put dust and dump things down on the earth. What do you think? Rocks, debris, fire, brimstone? What do you think? Hits the atmosphere, you might get it. Well, you're starting to see revelations. You're starting to see wormwood. You're starting to see all these kind of things that are starting to happen. And then he says that will presage the kill shot, which he says is a series of massive solar flares that will turn parts of the earth, not all of the earth, but parts of the earth, into rotisserie grills. Most of the deaths, he says, will be because of starvation and lack of water. But he says there are survival areas, but he says he's going to tell the sanctuary areas, he's going to pass them out of defense this fall, maps, but you'll have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Well, I don't think I'm going to go to get that. I think I will depend on the Lord Jesus to tell me where I need to be, or even if the fact is in his service, I may not get to see this mortal coil continue on, but I will have everlasting life. That is his promise if you believe in him. That is his promise, everlasting life with him in heaven. Now, Dames also did say that there is a home remedy that will help with any of these respiratory things. They even remote viewed it, and he said he's used it and it turns out it's oregano oil of oregano. You know, it's the same stuff I've been telling you about for years, and believe me, you better get it. You also need to get all of the different tinctures and things that Interfood has got, and you go to interfood.com, or you can call them up, and you call them up, or if you're using the email, when you tell them that Hawk sent you, and you get an extra discount. And that's toll-free, 866-762-9238. Or Interfood, ENERFOOD.com. And if you want the extra discount, you tell them that Hawk, Hawk, sent you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to wit, he says in terms of best thing to have in this global economic event is gold and silver. He said probably 20% unemployment this year and 40% or more next year. And then he says that he doesn't even see anything possible. He does not even looking now for anything out past 2014. Because he said this Obama is the last president of the United States. Did you get it? Obama is the last president of the United States. Well, George Norrie said, well, aren't we going to have George has turned a blue pill again, a little bit, I think, in my estimation. And that'd be a kind way to say it. But the fact is, he said, was there going to be an election in 2016? And Dame said, no, there's no election in 2016 for the president. He said, well, who's going to lead us? And Dame's in classic Dr. Doom said, chaos is going to lead us, George. Chaos is going to be the leader. Well, that's Lucifer, baby. And he is doing his thing right now and putting the pressure and pulling the levers on all of the highfalutin Lucy's across the planet, all his minions, to get this thing going and broiled up in the most ungodly, and I mean it, ungodly and nasty and terrible death-dealing sacrifice of humans that is going to take place. And this is why the Lord Jesus in Matthew 24, that if the time were not shortened for the elect, then there shall no flesh be saved. But the time has been shortened for the elect. Well, bless the Lord for that, I'm telling you, because it's getting ready to happen. He also was asked a question about the stuff, and he said, George, it's martial law. And then he said, well, and then he was talking about these sanctuary areas, some of which are in Canada, Alberta, Manitoba, parts of Saskatchewan, parts of Manitoba, where there'll be decent areas to go. He said, but I don't see, when I look in the future, any Americans there. Well, George said, well, why not? He says, because DHS will tell you can't leave the city. What does that tell you? He did say that gold and silver, ladies and gentlemen, and he's looking for gold and silver ore, but gold and silver are what's going on. Now, let me go to Lindsey Williams. And I'm telling you this because these are all converging on what V has already told you. And if you look at Steve's alerts, you can see V's alert from the other day. You need to be buying all the gold and silver you can get at any price. Lindsey Williams said that the Cyprus thing is all going to be, everybody's forgotten about it already now. He was on Alex Jones the other day, and he said you better watch your funds in the Caymans, Dubai, New Zealand, Australia, and also your retirement funds and things in the United States. And then he says the Cyprus was a money laundering center, and he says this is where the elites or the trillionaires and the gajillion billionaires are clipping the junior billionaires, those who are the drug dealers, all those kind of guys who have billions but not the trillions, like the Illuminati types have. And then how they're taking that money, disannulling of the wealthy. Disannulling of the wealthy is the buzzword. And he said that previously the Iran and the early this North Korea stuff here have been saber-rattling to keep you from looking at what's going on and what they're doing to the economy. And he said the New World Order is in the final formation right now. And then his elite guys that he talks to told him to look at the speech recently of David Stockman, who was Reagan's first-term budget guy, before they lit Reagan up with the mind control killer, the MK Ultra boy, Hinckley, who is the friends of the Bush family. He said that Stockman basically paraphrased and said that the quantitative easing, which has caused booms in the stocks, but there's no increase in any kind of wealth, or very little, none at all, and that tremendous unemployment's on Main Street, that this policy is unsustainable. And when the dam bursts, not if it bursts, but when the dam bursts, that there will be no second or third new round of bailouts for the banks or any other institutions, and that the U.S. will descend into a zero-sum austerity characterized by massive political polarization, no growth, and all kind of chaos, basically, is what he's talking about. He also said, for you Canadians up there, that in the Canadian budget, page 144, 145, that the Canadian government has said that they authorize and will use Canadian bank deposits, they say Canadian deposits, to save important financial institutions at the will of the Canadian government at any time. He also said that the new health care will be totally bankrupt, it will be totally scooped up, and you won't be able to get health care. And he said that the recent gold and silver knockdown, where they knocked down gold, silver, and then the other commodities and knocked things on the COMEX down. He says that was the major crack, the beginning of the crack of the thing, and that they did that to scare you little guys out there, he says, the little guys, the weekends, to sell their gold and silver up real quick, like when he said the Lucy's, the big elite, are buying all of it they can get, buying all of it they can get in the physical form. They're not buying Bitcoin. They're not buying paper gold, paper silver, or any kind of thing. They're buying the real deal from the little guys that are giving it up. And if you saw the stories today, where in the public buying in India, now that the price has dropped some, is that the public demand in India is 50 tons of gold per week. 50 tons of gold per week. You don't think it's valuable? You don't think you need it? You better get it, because these people are old people. They've seen every currency come and go. The Chinese, the Indians, all of them. Ancient civilizations. They do not believe the word of the politicians, because they know for the past thousands of years they lie. And they're evil. So you'd better get all the gold and silver you possibly can and stop worrying about this one or that one or the other one. And the old story is, we have cases that heard about here lately where some people have put, $250,000 in with somebody who had the best price, and they haven't had any delivery on the stuff in 8 months. And now they call Steve. They said, well, Steve, what do you think I should do? And Steve said, well, you should have bought it from somebody in the first place that had the stuff and would have guaranteed delivery. And he said, what in the world or the heck are you doing not being worried about it after at least 30 days? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to get yourself out of harm's way, and if you'd like to get some gold and silver, and keep it in mind, Steve has always said, if you don't have your food, your water purification, your basic firearms, your basic medical supplies, your NBC gear, go ahead and get that. But if you would like gold or silver, and you want to get it right away, because Steve has it on hand, then you email Steve Quayle 777 at yahoo.com. Steve Quayle, Quayle 777 at yahoo.com. And you say, Steve, I'd like to buy gold or silver. I'd like to get it now. Or palladium or platinum. He can get it for you. He has it. And the reason Steve has got it is he's willing to go and buy it for whatever it takes to get the physical, to make sure that he's got it so he can ship it to you. It's the old story is that if a pound of sugar is $5 elsewhere and everywhere else, but there's a guy who says, I can get it to you for $3, but, I don't have any right now. I'm waiting. I'm back ordered on it. So if you just give me your money, I'll hold your money. And then when it comes in, I'll get it to you. And that's what a lot of these big gold guys are doing. And it ain't never going to happen right. It ain't going to come down the pike the way you want it. We're talking months, perhaps now, when this thing is going to go totally down the tubes. Maybe days. Maybe the end of this month. Maybe by the end of May. by June 1st. When you tie in the web bots into the similar types of things. Ladies and gentlemen, you get a hold of Steve Quayle. You can also call him at 406-586-4840. 406-586-4840. And you tell him, you can leave a message there if somebody's not there. Or the best way to do it is to email Steve Quayle, 777 at yahoo.com. Leave your name, your number, what time is the best time to call you, and tell Steve, hey, I want gold or I want silver. Tell him what you want, and he will contact you back. So that's all I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen. You better get with it, and you can just go and look at all of the things dealing with the fact that there is getting to be severe shortages of gold in the physical and silver in the physical forms. Yeah, you may have the local coin dealer in a small town or something that's got, 10, 20 ounces, that kind of thing, but some of those, at the current prices, they're not selling it either. They'll tell you they don't have any, and they'll just wait because they know it's going to go back up. And, I don't know what the game and plan is today, because I'm going to tell you, like B said, don't worry about this day-to-day stuff, that you're going to have to get it while you can get it, or you will not have it. If you do not have it in your hand, you will not have it. But Lindsey Williams went on to say that people had better get their money out of their retirement accounts, out of their banks, because they're going to get clipped, just like the Cypress. And he said the elite are laughing at you. The elite are laughing at you because you don't understand. They're basically laughing at you because you still think that everything is great, the stocks are going to come back, and you're going to be driving new 57 Chevys, you're going to go to the Dog and Sons, or you're going to think that, Blondie's back in fashion if you're an 80s kid, or if you know what I'm saying. Everything's going to go back to the way it was. Well, it ain't going to go back to the way it was, because they're going to take it down, and then what he said is that they're going to take it down to where the United States is basically the equivalent of Mexico or Guatemala or, Honduras, some third world country in terms of lifestyle. And believe me, we're already headed there. We're already headed there completely. And praise the Lord if you still have something good going on. If anybody would like to send assistance to me, and believe me, I can use it. I can really use it, you can send it to Hawk in care of Steve Quayle. Send it to Hawk in care of Steve Quayle. And you can put a card in there, whatever, I'll get it, letter. You can put it to Hawk, say donation for Hawk. And if you have Federal Reserve notes, silver, whatever, gold, if you want to send that, that's the best thing. And it will get to me. I trust Steve implicitly. You can send it to Hawk in care of Steve Quayle at 315 Edelweiss, Edelweiss Drive, Edelweiss Drive, 315 Edelweiss Drive, Bozeman, Bozman, Montana, 59718. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank everybody for all the support over the years, and I thank all the special people. Nikki, I thank you. B and Ed, old Bay and Robin, Linda, Sharon, Cheryl, a jillion folk. I thank you for your kind wishes and your prayers. Because I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, there's a massive attack, and the war is happening. Not that I'm a saint, but the war on the saints is occurring. The war on the Lord's people, those who follow the Lord Jesus, is starting to happen. What do you think is going on in Syria? The United States government, through the Joker Tut, is backing the Al-Qaeda that killed the Libyan, in Libya, killed our ambassador at Benghazi. After they sodomized him, they choked him. And the same fighters, and those are the same ones that are cutting the heads off of Christians in Aleppo.
They're cutting the heads off Christians in Aleppo, yet Aleppo is supposedly under attack from Assad. But you see, It's the Al-Qaeda that's cutting the Christians' heads off. So it's an assault. And all of the action, including the alleged chemical weapons, are happening in that Aleppo region. So, ladies and gentlemen, this thing is getting ready to go south. Big time. I urge you to get prepared as much as you can right now and continue it. And don't get lulled into some fake sense of security or get, to where you're just overwhelmed and you go into cognitive dissonance where you get the brain freeze. Because it is not going to do you any good. Seek to go to action, and I will tell you something else. Looking at these videos of Boston, I will tell you what, to see SWAT teams, and to have, you don't know whether they're cops, military, state police, you don't have any clue who they are. They got head cams on. They're ordering people at gunpoint out of their homes without a warrant, without a stinking warrant. Under some kind of guise, and yet they're doing it, and yet they don't declare martial law? Well, believe you me, they don't have a warrant, don't let them in. You don't have a warrant, don't let them in. And if they're going to come with martial law, then make them come all the way. Make them show and take the mask off. Make them take the iron mask off and show the evil scumbag Lucy face of who they really are. Because you got a First Amendment. You got a Second Amendment. You got a Third Amendment. No soldier shall time of peace be quartered in any house without consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Well, that's how they maybe think they're going to do it. But also, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person to be searched, seized. Well, what do you think they're doing with the head cameras, the helmet cams? They're recording all of the insides of all these houses. They're saying, oh, look at there, that house right there, 413, Front Street, XYZ City Highway, 413, maybe Louisville, Kentucky, 413 Short Street, Louisville, Kentucky, maybe after the Kentucky Derby, or maybe it's Cincinnati. And incidentally, the alleged ties of Uncle Ruslan, Zarny, as he calls himself, Zarniev, whatever, the uncle of these two bombers, he has ties to some foundation of some company that used to make cars only, but then they got into other stuff, and then it became fronts for this and that and the other. Allegedly, you see. But isn't it interesting that uncharacteristically of these foundation type things, that they're somehow now tied to road construction on ring roads or, bypass type things or circle roads around, Cincinnati area? And that right through the middle there is a railroad track in a piney woods there, up there in, I think it's Warren County or near the Warren and Butler County. Little Dickie Jones, Spetsnaz lover himself, Sheriff of Butler. I'm sure he knows about it. But in there are some of those weird rail cars they hide in a back siding down in those wooded areas. So isn't it interesting that there's the ties, allegedly, to road building when they don't build roads necessarily? But isn't that ties? Then there's an upcoming marathon in Cincinnati where now you will not be able to use a backpack or a purse. And if you do use any kind of bag, you will have had to have purchased an officially issued one that is see-through and clear. And you must submit to searches at any kind of place. If you're going in there, if you're along the route, you have to be subject to search and all this. So are they getting ready to do it at the Kentucky Derby? They're getting ready to do it at the Flying Pig Marathon in Cincinnati? Are they getting ready to do it at this marathon, that marathon, this ball game, that ball game, the other ball game? And they've already got you searching at the NFL, the
all these different things, the college football games, they're using the military involved in doing that. This is getting to be full-blown martial law. And then today in West Oakland, ladies and gentlemen, they blocked off streets just like they did in Boston and Watertown. Blocked off the streets, put the helicopters in the air, and massive amounts of cops and FBI and other EIEIO federal agents did sweeps in whole neighborhoods in West Oakland. Now, you remember when Greg Evenson and I were on, and Greg and I were talking about cordon and search. Cordon and search. And then it becomes search and destroy, you see. Cordon and search and then destroy, because they all go hand in hand. And everybody says, well, they ain't got enough cops. They ain't got enough troops and cops to come to every house, by golly, in America. Therefore, they wouldn't do it. They just did martial law, city of a metro area of 3 to 4 million people in Boston, the home of the revolution in the United States. And you don't think that that's not lost on everybody? On Patriots Day. So, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to do whatever events they need to do, and therefore I think that these types of things is mentioned in this article today about the nukes and a Navy SEAL telling somebody about the nukes be possibly exploded. That is precisely the type of event that they will have, and they can blame it on Syria, Iran, North Korea, Red China, Hillbilly Joes, who knows? Don't go into their Luciferian night without a fight, ladies and gentlemen. Good night to the mighty men and women of valor. I do see you active and you're up there. And thank God for those who believe in the Lord Jesus and take orders from him. The real CIC. And Lord, I pray that you would have special favor for the River Pirate tonight, and for Greg Evenson, for Romy and her husband Steve, for all those of the Lord's people who have been hit, and for Brother Quayle, everybody. Good night to the mighty men and women of valor, you betcha. And to the Fandango Rangers, I know you're ready. And old Mickey LaFool, you got it dialed in. Don't slip on the old chicken manure, though.